In chips, where's the opportunity? Among them are Nvidia, which has already achieved great success, AMD, and Intel, which has not been performing well. You're mentioning Nvidia and AMD, two of my favorite brands. Nvidia seems like a fantastic company. Congratulations on your fantastic interview the other night, where to use the word insane. I just adore it. You can infer what you need to know from it. Everyone wants it, and our checks on Blackwell are excellent. January and April should see some notable sequential growth as a result. We feel rather positive about Blackwell because we believe that after a quarter or two, the gross margin will start to recover significantly, which will stimulate the stock once more. We are aware that some others on your network have also expressed some concerns, but demand is incredibly strong. Additionally, keep in mind that OpenAI just released a number of products, none of which we have yet to use for inference. Additionally, we are happy that Apple is releasing Apple Intelligence, which should power some of the OpenAI. Additionally, AMD has a significant event scheduled for next week. We don't believe they're taking us out there to lay an egg. We feel positive about AMD as well since it really popped at the event last year and there is room for another number two there. Just a few days ago, Jensen Huang joined us and said, "This is now the beginning of a new wave called Enterprise AI, and then after that, as we're entering into Enterprise AI, we'll simultaneously be developing and cultivating the wave after that, which is Industrial AI. In addition to Apple Intelligence and possibly an application-driven consumer AI wave, Jensen is referring to Industrial AI, which is better for investing in. All of it, I believe, is investable. Similar to what happened during the ChatGPT craze, a lot of things start with the consumer and then generate a lot of interest in the business. Subsequently, several businesses became aware of it. I believe that as investors, as consumers begin utilizing visual intelligence from Apple and Google's version of it, and those types of activities where you're using your phone to view objects and then ask questions about them, it will lead to a greater understanding of AI in general. I believe that in order to serve their respective industries, a growing number of businesses will wish to work with small language models. Additionally, the NVIDIA NIMS architecture will be used more frequently, which will encourage further enterprise adoption. We're still in the early stages of this. The interest in autonomous AI bots hasn't even begun to grow, which will be enormous. Benioff has been talking to you about it a lot. We're only getting started, John, on a lot of things. But I genuinely believe Microsoft will drive that more than a SaaS firm. I'm rather thrilled. Julie Sweet, CEO of Accenture, and Jensen Huang, CEO of Nvidia, recently spoke to us about their growing collaboration to promote enterprise AI adoption. We're joined by Patrick Moorhead of More Insights and Strategy and Dan Ives of Wedbush to break it all down. Since you're far away, Pat, I'd like to hear your opinion first. It's difficult to tell because Accenture is a major go-to-market partner, and we've seen them collaborate with Microsoft. What do you believe the possible significance of this is? Now, because it meets the mark, I believe this to be a huge thing. As we have discussed on the show, John, what are the long-term consequences of AI being incorporated into the infrastructure? We also discussed the connection that must be made in order to move beyond infrastructure. Thus, this is precisely the kind of agreement that may be able to speed up the business, and it is significant for the industry as a whole, not just for Accenture and Nvidia. Given that Jensen Huang stated quite precisely that this is the beginning of this next wave, I would like to hear your thoughts on this, Dan. He believes that this enterprise adoption will be the largest wave. As that develops, you begin to discuss industrial AI, which is the distinction between deterministic and predictive AI. Two very different models, two very different outcomes. As we discussed before to the break, according to Honeywell CEO Vimal Kapur, who spoke to me yesterday, we estimate that the next 3 years will see $1 trillion in AI capital expenditures. Patrick makes a really good point when he says that we are only beginning to explore the potential of artificial intelligence. However, I believe that these kinds of alliances are watershed partnerships. What Julie mentioned and what you heard from Jensen of Nvidia, I believe, is now the multiplier. There is an $8 to $10 multiplier across the rest of the tech infrastructure and services for every dollar spent on Nvidia chips. Your discussion about industrial, autonomous AI is only the beginning. As of right now, it is 9 o'clock p.m. at that AI party that lasts till 4 o'clock a.m., and I believe that what we are witnessing is only beginning to unfold. You can see what Jensen and Nvidia are doing, Dan, with their annual pace on platforms and technologies, as well as their collaborations across various ecosystem segments that go beyond chips and actually build upon our technology. Will Nvidia ultimately emerge victorious in a zero-sum scenario, leaving everyone else, at least those that compete with them on the chip side, such as AMD and Intel, at greater risk of losing? Since they are currently the only game in town, Lisa Su is undoubtedly watching this interview as well as everyone else in the industry. All they will do is keep widening that moat. It is the Microsoft model and the Oracle model. And when you discuss that revenue possibility, I believe they are attempting to simply increase their share. I believe Jensen is aiming for that. Today's key question, in my opinion, is whether the fourth industrial revolution will unfold with trillions of dollars in AI capital expenditures, but it will be a Game of Thrones conflict with other major tech companies. Because everything you discuss on the podcast, including Microsoft, Google, and Amazon, is now beginning to go into the second, third, and fourth derivatives that Patrick, you, and I know you discuss frequently. And I'm just going to continue our conversation, Patrick. What does this mean for NVIDIA's competitive moat? Additionally, how does this mean that NVIDIA will become a more modern, larger, and more powerful rival not only with other chip makers as it expands its platform and now reaches across what he referred to as the connecting fabric with this partnership with Accenture? Thus, the moat is increased by 100%. More agreements like these. Keep in mind that 6 months earlier, the business made agreements similar to this with IBM Consulting. According to Jensen, we don't just do chips. We do comms chips, CPUs, racks, networking, entire data centers, and then put the software on top of that. They are progressing down the line with the big GSIs. These kinds of embeddings, as I shall refer to them, are then layered in. What may or may not have been apparent in this transaction is that NVIDIA's software will be a key component of these Accenture solutions, which creates a lock-in that creates a moat. Indeed, competitors will eventually enter the market to accomplish that, but it takes time. Additionally, people are thrilled with NVIDIA's investment in this, and nobody wants to fall behind, as demonstrated by FOMO in the data center build-out. With worldwide systems integrators and everything in between, nobody wants to fall behind. The pathetic application of AI in business is one of the major problems that hasn't been addressed yet. Based on our present trajectory and speed, I estimate it will be 18 to 24 months before we start to see the hockey stick, and this deal has the ability to make that happen. Perhaps it cuts down on time. I'm hopeful that this deal will go through.